and it's worth it to look at it now and go, I didn't quit. I've got this now. I can look at my diploma and be excited about it versus the fact that I actually rolled it back up and have had it in the closet for the last 5 years after I first got it, because I didn't want to see it because I hadn't passed the bar yet. So now I've looked at it again and know that, hey, I can actually say this is mine now.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Hanging Out with Successful Bar Exam Takers. And I have a person that we're going to talk to today that I have waited a long time for this call. Welcome, Alison Edgeworth. Hi, Alison.
Hi, thank you.
Well, it is really exciting to be here with you. Will you tell everybody here what your good news is?
Well, I passed the bar in July.
Yeah, and which bar did you pass?
The Alabama bar.
So that's the uniform bar exam. And I'm really excited about this story for a lot of reasons, but your journey goes back about 5 years on the bar, doesn't it?
It does, yes.
Yeah. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
So I finished law school in May of 2015, and I took the bar in July and failed, and have taken, this was my 6th attempt at the bar, and finally got the great news that I passed. Took some time off a couple of times. Had a baby during the midst of it a couple of years, 4 years ago, and took some time off, plus just frustration and different things took time off. And then took it again in July, and this July, and have passed now.
Yeah, and you took the in-person COVID-19 July bar exam. We're going to talk a little bit about that. That's an interesting experience for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. But I want to talk a little bit. You came into our orbit in 2020, and and you took our Basic Plus course. So you and I did some coaching together and some work together. And I have to say, you're one of my favorite students, somebody that I just really enjoyed working with. But your journey was really interesting, wasn't it, in terms of just what you had to overcome, I think, emotionally as well as intellectually.
Absolutely. The coaching calls for me were probably as much or more beneficial mentally and emotionally than any book that I opened and studied. I was failing the bar by, like, the lowest I failed it by was 12 points on my 3rd attempt, but all the others were like 5, 2. I got a 2, failed by 2 points one time. And so super close, and just continually feeling extremely defeated on myself, and lost a lot of just me in the process of what's happening, and couldn't, every time I'd open books again to study more, I just couldn't get over the mental barriers and voices that were just knocking me down over and over again.
Yeah, and you were really honest about that. And I think that we had some tearful conversations, as I recall. I think it was mostly you doing the crying, not me.
Yeah.
But I think that just trying to overcome and take all of that frustration and disappointment and figuring out how to channel it was one of the biggest challenges you faced, wasn't it?
It was. It definitely was. And I would often just think, hey, how is Jackson reading my brain? Because you would say everything that I needed to hear that day or that study period, of I was just down again, or just angry at the whole process, and how I had been studying all these other times. I had done all the work that other courses were asking me to do and different things, but just couldn't get over the bitterness and anger. And yet having those calls and different things helped me to just realize that I'm worth something. And that because I was letting it define me so much, the bar, and hated going in grocery stores, because I still live in the city where my law school is. So I would like hide, hoping I never saw one of my professors, and because I didn't want to talk to anybody about it and be asked about it. And so through conversations with you, it was like, okay, I am smart. I do know this stuff. I can do it. I just have to re-believe in myself.
Yeah, and it was not a one-time kind of event. It was a process, and it took some time for you to incorporate all of that. Now, I know that you also used photo reading and you used the paraliminals, and we want to talk a little bit about those tools as well. But you were studying pretty intensively in 2020, both February and July, in order to get there. How did you get yourself sort of mentally and emotionally psyched up to do that work again?
I had taken a break for a year from the bar, and it was a very necessary, much needed mental break. And my husband, he didn't ask when I was going to start taking again. He just was like, you do it whenever you're ready. And a former CBR alumni had given me your information, and I talked to him and was like, yep, I think this is the course for me. And then it just suddenly for me was like, I'm ready to do this again. And so having that time off, but then that mental determination of a course that had been great for other retakers, and I finally had a drive to really sit down and focus again, because some of those middle tests I studied, but I had been put in so many hours before that I didn't really do that as much. But this time I was like, I'm going back to a plan and doing everything that's asked of me and sticking with it. And
Yeah, and you really did that, and you were very conscientious about doing that. Let's talk about photo reading for a minute, because that is a very different kind of tool. How did that work for you?
it was good. I liked it. I very much second guessed myself at it a lot when I first started using it. And we even had a conversation at some point that you're like, you're not letting it go. You're still hanging on to the old ways. And so definitely an adjustment of trying to figure it out and accept it and use it appropriately. When I took the July exam, wow, life was crazy in 2020, obviously, but we had just moved into a new house, and I was also expecting our second child and had a 4-year-old. And so life was super crazy from February to July taking
Yeah.
it. And so actually, when I took the July exam, I did a whole lot of photo reading to survive, because I couldn't exactly give as much focus at times to how much I had done in January and February studying. It
Right.
was a lot more
I just want to make this
beneficial.
point so that people get it, because you're very modest. But between February and July, with COVID-19 going on, you have a second child, you have a 4-year-old, and you move to a new house, and you're studying for the bar.
Yes,
What could possibly go wrong?
I know. I took the bar 5 weeks before my due date
Yeah.
in July of COVID year. It was, should I do this? It was, but yeah, yeah.
Why not, right? So I'm glad
Right.
2020 is good for somebody.
Yeah.
So the so doing that, and photo reading, for those that don't know, photo reading lets you read a regular bar review outline that might take you 8 or 10 hours in about 15 minutes. And so you were reading, how many times would you say you would read a subject outline in the course of your study, photo reading it?
Um, I'll focus on the July one when I was doing a lot,
Okay.
but like every morning I would read one of the outline books,
Mhm.
and
One of
every
the
evening,
books, not just the outline, but the whole book, right?
yeah, I would photo read that whole outline book. And then in the evening, I would do that if I had not done any other studying that day, because it at least was something to give my mind like, okay, you can at least check off that you've done something today, because my personality, not doing anything would make me a little more stressed. But I definitely would photo read and use the nutshells, even
Right.
photo reading them at times, just
Yeah.
to do everything I could to keep that stuff going in my head.
Yeah, it's a remarkable tool. And then when you get to the bar exam, the information is just there. It's in your head, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That's a weird feeling. The other tool that we recommended, and I think you used, were the paraliminal recordings. Can you talk a little bit about those?
They were great for me. And a lot of it, I think, for me stemmed from the mental fatigue that I had and the attitude that I had for the bar, that using the paraliminals really just helped me relax and bring everything back to reality, and help me to go, okay, you can do this today. Even with everything else going on, you can sit here, and whether it was a relaxing one, whether it was a get to it kind of
Yeah.
thing and focus, there were a lot of worry and anxiety, because while I can say I was doing good mentally, it could just flip in a second that I'm back down on myself and frustrated.
Yeah. So the paraliminal recordings, I think, are great tools for just diagnosing a particular question or issue or subject that's causing you problem, and then being able to do something about it in 20 or 30 minutes. You just put on the headphones and you're set to go. One of the things that I thought was so interesting about your story was how supportive your family was. And your 4-year-old it's your daughter, right?
Yes.
And I believe somewhere before the exam, you sent me a picture of your daughter in front of Celebration Bar Review books, and she was studying. You want to tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, she was not only studying, she was listening to one of your, I believe it was contracts. She was listening to the contracts lecture. And I can't remember if I had walked away or what, but I had it all on our bed and I had walked away and my husband had been watching and keeping her entertained and stuff. But they had come in there and she sat down and she had her my book out and she started playing it and she was just studying like mommy was and getting ready for her test because we kept talking about mommy's big test and why I couldn't do different things some days or why I couldn't go on adventures with her and daddy to get ice cream on a Saturday and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But she was modeling what she was seeing.
And we talked a lot about that and about what it meant to model being brave and staying and hanging in there. And I know at 4 years old, she doesn't understand yet, but there may come a time, Allison, when she gets to watch this video and she'll understand a little bit more. But what was your feeling when you realized that you had passed as a mom, forgetting all the other things? We'll talk about those other things in a minute. But as a mom, what did it mean to you to recognize that you had been successful?
Mostly that I had not given up and that will be a huge thing that I can teach my girls now and instill in them that it's, oh, I wanted to. I never dreamed it would take me so many times to accomplish this goal. But now, already just 2 weeks after results have come out, just a huge different feeling and perspective of this is what it feels like and you've got to just keep going.
Yeah, it's so amazing. Let's talk a little bit about what it was like to go in and take an in-person exam. Alabama is one of the few states that held an in-person exam in July with COVID. Talk us through that a little bit. And certainly being pregnant must have added another layer of concern and complexity for you.
Absolutely, because I was labeled high risk for my pregnancy and just going to all my doctor visits, there were a lot of restrictions. So that I was like, is this even the right thing to do? But then I didn't want to put it off when I had been so close in February. And then how I was like, okay, 5 months pregnant or 7 months pregnant, taking this test is easier than having a 5-month-old at home if I waited a year and take it again in February.
Yeah.
And so I decided to do it. But honestly, it was a really great experience. I preferred it over the other times.
Yeah, and that's what we're hearing from people, that it actually was really pretty good. There were fewer people, you were spaced out, right?
We had room
Good
to
room.
work. Like in the past, we're all sitting like elbow to elbow trying to take our test, and I had this whole table to myself, and people didn't talk to you, which was great because I don't enjoy the ramblings of people, and so everybody was just quiet and did their thing, and I preferred it. I didn't know going into it if I would like it or if they would really follow the restrictions and different things, but I vote for it.
Yeah. And that we've heard that from other Alabama bar takers. This was probably one of the best run in-person exams in the country. So congratulations to those folks for doing that well. So you take the exam, and of course, there's still all the drama of the online exams and the extended exams, but you're already done. That had to be a little weird, wasn't it? Just sitting and waiting for your results, but hearing all these people who are still waiting to take their July exams.
Yes, it was. And just knowing that, yes, I was done with that, marked it off. And I definitely had a lot of anxiety as far as every time an update was coming out about bar stuff. It was like, okay, is this going to affect me? Because I knew if they moved it to September for me, I couldn't take it because I was due the middle of September and had our baby in the middle of September. So I knew September and October were out for me. So it's kind of like I was just continually waiting, like, is this going to be answered for me that I can't take it in July? But it was nice to know that I was done. I had put all the work into it and could just not go through the stress that unfortunately so many have had to go through this
Yeah.
time of just delays and things.
Yeah. Normally I ask people what it's like to wait for results, but you had a lot of other things going on. So my guess is you were not really, hanging on every moment of getting results. But
In
tell
the
us,
past,
yeah,
I've definitely been counting down the days, and she was born one week to the day before the results came out. So like that morning, I was just like, whatever.
yeah, I was going to just say, when the results came out, tell us what that was like. What happened?
I knew that morning. I was like, I just don't even want to look at my emails. My mother-in-law and my sister-in-law were coming to visit, and my grandparents were coming. They were coming in the morning. My grandparents were coming in the evening. And I was just like, I'm not even gonna look at my phone today because I don't want that news before they all get here. They're coming for the baby, they're coming to see us and meet her, and it's a happy time, and that's all I want to focus on. But unfortunately, I happened to need to look at my phone, and that email was already up on my screen, and it said, "Congratulations, and you've passed." And I saw it, but then I was like, I don't know. I've got to see the list too. And so a few minutes later, they posted the list and I looked at it and I cried a lot. Just such relief and happiness about it all. Oh, he was super excited and was just, you've done it, you've accomplished it. And he was like, now we can do whatever you want. Like, because our thing has been whatever, if I don't practice law, I just wanted to get through this. But now, and he has continually said that, like, if you decide this isn't for you, that's fine. But you just keep wanting to do this goal, and I'm here to support you on that. And I so have appreciated him for that. And so that was one of his first things was, you do what you want. We'll do what you want to now, but you've done it and you can mark that off and we'll go from here. So
Wow. Well,
great.
that's a pretty woke husband. So,
Yeah, he's pretty good.
yeah. What advice would you offer people? I know there are going to be lots of folks watching this video who are going to say, oh my gosh, 5, 6 tries, 5 years, 2 babies, COVID-19, all of these other things. What advice would you give people who are discouraged and feel like they just can't get through the exam?
Probably first of all, don't say in law school that you would never be that person that took the test a lot because I was hearing about a lot of people taking it over and over. And I remember specifically having a conversation with a friend. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. Like, if I can't pass it after 3 times, I'm moving on. It's obviously not for me. But there's that determination and that knowledge that you've really worked for that you shouldn't give up on it. And again, I was close different times and in ways I wish at times I was like, I wish I'd have failed by a lot instead of just a couple of points because that was making it that much harder for me to figure out what to do to move on. But that it's worth, I can't believe I'm saying that now, but it's worth the heartache, the frustration, the continual loss of time with family. That's one thing that I've struggled with because I am very close to my family and how I've continually had to sacrifice time with them to do this. But now I can go out in the community and not be afraid of who's going to ask me about what I'm doing and if I've passed the bar, and just knowing that however many times it took, I've done it and I can move on with life now.
Yeah, and I'm sure I speak for a lot of people when I say we're so proud of you. You definitely should be able to hold your head up very high. I know that when you and I would be talking and conferencing, that a lot of times there was that regret that you had that you couldn't be with your family, and yet you knew you had to study and you had to do the work. But you were very diligent about doing that. You didn't push it off. You didn't, set it aside and say you weren't going to do it. And I think that skill is part of what will make you a really great member of the bar in whatever way you choose to practice. And I think that being able to recognize that there are some delayed things that happen, and now we get the opportunity to enjoy them, and you've got your 2 daughters and the excitement of that, and being a member of the bar. It's a tough journey, isn't it?
It is. And I think one of the things I had to realize was how, because family did mean so much and does mean so much to me, I got up at 4 o'clock in the mornings, set my coffee pot. That was my alarm. And I had about 3.5 hours before my husband got up for work and my daughter got up for the day. and spent that time. And then she would still nap for 2 hours, which I was super blessed by in the afternoons for a 4-year-old, and spend time doing it then. And then in the evenings, there were some days as it got closer to time, I studied, but then I also could give myself that personal break in the evenings that I needed mentally to be with my family and to spend time with them to help re-energize me for another day of studying.
Yeah, and I thought that you kept a great balance that way too. If someone were asking you about Celebration Bar Review and the tools that we employ, things like photo reading and paraliminals and personal coaching, what would you say to them? Because I know you came to us, as you said, Joe Hastings recommended you to our course, former successful student. But
Yeah,
what would you say to somebody about the way this course worked for you?
it's worth it. At first, think the idea of spending more money on a bar review when you've already spent money on a bar review, when you've already spent money on the bar fees over and over again, and you're just draining your money system to get through this, that it was like, why should I do it again? For me, the success that you all had for retakers was a big selling point for me, that I just needed to know that it was a program that specialized for people like me, not a general big box course. Here's what everybody's doing, no matter how many times you've taken it, because that wasn't working for me. And so the fact that you all had the success with repeat takers, and then again, the conference calls that we could have to help build my mental confidence, and then also just to be able to talk about what I was doing, because I would, with the box courses, would submit my essays just like I did with you, but then I would get these responses through an email that I couldn't really interpret some of them. And then I'll never forget that one time I got an email 2 weeks before the bar about an essay I had submitted well before, and it was like destroying everything I had done. And I couldn't talk to anybody. It was like a one-way street. And it was like, I can't understand this. And so being able to talk to you all was worth it for me too, just personally, that it was a great investment and one I would highly recommend, that you can be done if you just got to invest one more time and then you can be done. That's my thinking on you guys.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's very kind of you to say. Is there anything else that you want to share with our audience today, advice or insights? Because I know that you went through a lot in your process and in your work to come here, and now a couple of weeks on the back end of this, having gotten this passing result. If you could talk to younger you, earlier you, what would you say? Besides, don't be that person that says you're only going to take the exam once. But,
Right. During the process, I had, through law school and then through the bar process, I just really quit believing in myself and what I could do. And I've said that a little bit already, but finally getting those results 2 weeks ago, had just in 2 weeks, has really given me so much more of me back and my confidence. And I remember listening to the free webinar at the very beginning before I even subscribed. And I think you guys asked for, there was something you asked, I don't remember now, but my answer was, I'm tired of the black cloud over my head. And that has been such a truly a dark black cloud over our life for the last 5 years. And how right now there were so many happy things happening in life with both of our daughters, as getting moving into a new house and great things, but I couldn't let go of frustration and anger and enjoy the moments. But it just, again, 2 weeks out, and it's worth it to look at it now and go, I didn't quit. I've got this now. I can look at my diploma and be excited about it versus the fact that I actually rolled it back up and have had it in the closet for the last 5 years after I first got it, because I didn't want to see it because I hadn't passed the bar yet. So now I've looked at it again and know that, hey, I can actually say this is mine now.
awesome. Well, Alison, I am again very proud of you, and congratulations. I appreciate so much that you would share your story with our audience. I know it's going to touch a lot of people. It's going to encourage and motivate so many people who might be in a similar situation. And maybe there'll be some other people unrolling their diplomas and putting them up soon and being able to enjoy it. And I just want to wish you all the best. It's so much good has happened for you, and you look great and just seem so much more relaxed. And for a newborn and a 4-year-old, you're a very chill mom right now. So, but I don't think we should keep you much longer, or the babies are going to want you.
Yes.
But thanks again for being with us. We really appreciate it. And thank you for all the good stuff that you've done and the encouragement that you've brought to others. And I am, for one, going to really look forward to see what you do, whatever it might be, because I know you're going to be successful at everything you do. And I look forward to the day when your daughters decide to go to law school and take the bar exam, and they can look back at that picture and say, yeah, we started early.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, thank you. And again,
Well,
to our audience, thanks for being with us. And we will be back again soon with another interview, and we'll say goodbye for now. Bye-bye, everybody.